So I just wanted to show a few slides as far as, and just kind of talk a little bit about what we did for the 2016 survey. Back, you know, when we came out with the updated updated heights for the 2004.65, Dave was still with NGS, and there was a commitment made back at that point in time to keep current enough control to try to have an understanding of what was going on subsidence-wise, and to help the, you know, the interested communities as far as surveying, engineering, geological, as far as to understand and try to help further understand what's happening as far as subsidence-wise. So we've done that as far as we had the addition of the FEMA money after Katrina for the 2006, and so then we've had the 2010 and now the 2016. So I just wanted to kind of go through, if it'll work here. So, you know, Dave's already shown some of this as far as the some of the stuff that's gone on. So we had, you know, the triangulation networks, the geodetic leveling, and is that, I mean, there was leveling done that was most of the any leveling outside of Louisiana was in the 80s. There was some leveling around New Orleans in the mid-90s, but since then there's not been anything. We had the as far as GPS control, you know, in the early 90s we had the HARN, and that's when the GPS was beginning to come in. Late 90s we had the FBN and the CBN surveys, and those were where they started adding the determining the ellipsoid heights to go along with those horizontal positions. So really from the 1990s, it was not until the 2004 that there was really any updates to positions of the survey marks that NGS published until the 2004. So at that point in time, we had the 99 marks, and I'll show you a graphic. So most everybody was in kind of benchmark shock at that point, because it was out of all of the ones that were within the NGS database, there were now 99 marks that were considered current. Okay, so that's where we, you know, we got the, so there were the 99, then we had the 2006, we had the additional money from FEMA so that we could densify the network, and we were up to 330 marks. And they, so then the 2010 survey, it was about on a 5 to 6 year epic that NGS has committed to do this. So it was 4 years later, we had wound up, we had a few people who participated as far as doing observations and then submitting that information to us as far as to where we were up to in 149 marks is what it kind of totaled out to for the 2010. And there's different as far as the different epic there's the 2010.73. That was the GPS observations. As Dave's shown you, that 2009.55, that came from the leveling, because there were two surveys, one in Mississippi, Mississippi did like a kind of a overall statewide height mod and part of that came from as far as they were getting to where they were doing more and more GPS as far as the DOT, and they were seeing that their heights from their RTK was off, and so they put this together to do this updated this height mod survey, and Kurt Schinkel was the advisor there, so him being involved in the Tech 50 study, they knew that they needed their heights were going to be off in the southern part of the state. That's where they came up. They knew they needed to do some leveling, so they leveled over from Pensacola through the southern quarter, one quarter of the state, and then they tied that all in with GPS. It was about 650 miles worth of leveling, and they also GPSed about that number of marks down through the entire state. So that's where that came in as far as that leveling was actually a part of Dave was able to use that updated information in with that to that overall network for the South Louisiana 2010 information, but that was what controlled the vertical. Okay, so that's why it got the 2009.55 epic. So for 2016, our target was around 150 marks. And it will come up with some, some 2 digits there as far as the 2016 point something. I'm not sure what that'll be yet, but so just to show you, okay, so this was the 2004.65. Dave's already shown you some of this, but you can see as far as only the yellow parishes were the ones that were involved in that project. Then so the grayed out parishes were not involved in that. With the 2006, we were able to densify it, and so we were able to go north of the lake and involve some of those parishes. Tangipahoa, that's where the VTDB study, the Tech 50, it went up 55, so we had some information there. But you can see there's a lot more marks. This is the 2010, and it shows you this was the leveling from the Mississippi project that came across. So what we did for the 2010 survey was we had, this was all first order class 2 leveling, and it was current, so we used, we tied in 10 marks in the 2010 GPS, just to use that as to help in the as far as on this side of the project, just to validate some of that information. So we for the 20 it's jumped too much. For the 2016 survey, this is the marks, what we observed, but then again we repeated on those 10 marks over on the Mississippi network also. So for when we were planning for this, we were trying to involve the user community, and so we again opened it up. The 2010 survey, we had it for where the people could participate in other words, you could go out and observe and then submit that data to us, and then we would, as long as the accuracy was there, we would include that information with the overall project. Well, at that time it was the idea was that everybody had to do the overnight sessions, and I know that was a hard point for a lot of people, as far as because most people were like, well, I'm not going to leave my equipment out there overnight, or I'm not going to pay somebody to sit by the receiver all night. So the Corps of Engineers participated in it, and they Nickel State, the students down there, they did 1 mark there on campus. So we wanted to try to do that again this time, but but this time people could use the height mod specs as far as doing 3 5-hour observations over the course of 3 days, 2 days, different times, different days. And so so we did a webinar as far as I put together a user guidance document as far as for anybody that wanted to participate. And so so I'd held a couple of webinars that explained what people would have needed to do as far as, and so there is a page, web page relative to this project as far as the 2016, the period of as far as for data collection is gone now. As far as, I mean, it's over. We're as far as NGS, we were completed all of our observations in the by mid-October. But this was the web page, and we did go through as far as, because of the August flooding. This is just a screenshot off of the with all of the flooding that went on. As far as NGS has a remote sensing division that collects aerial imagery, LiDAR, and part of that is for the what's part of our mission as far as to update the national shoreline and to keep that current. But they've also gotten into where it's a like a national disaster. NGS will get called to do like emergency imagery to try to help people recover from that. So, or to understand what some of the damages are. So they came and they did fly some of these areas, and this is not the total extent of the areas, but this is, we use this as far as to look at, well, you know, to maybe try to add in some control that we in some of these areas, so that for some of the flood studies, high water mark surveys, some of that information that may updates to flood maps that may come out of this, we added some marks in some of these areas. Okay. We also added some marks to in as far as looking at the 2010 survey to the we had some different areas that we wanted to try to add in some marks to try to improve some of that as far as what would be going into the hybrid or into the as far as from a GEOIDS standpoint, what would go into the final product as far as those final published heights for this. So the other thing that we did different as far as there's a program that is, it was there in 2010, but it's not, it wasn't as far as developed as what it is now. It's called Opus Projects, and that is a means of using Opus Projects is a program. It's a kind of an extension of Opus to where you can actually bring in multiple, you can bring your network of observations in and use it to do do the baseline processing and then do a least squared adjustment of the overall network, similar to what you can do with some of the commercial software as far as like a Trimble Business Center or the TopCon tools, all of those. It's similar, but it uses NGS programs, servers, and it ties it all into the cores. And so one of the things that we did is we set up projects as far as so that when we were collecting all of our information, it was all submitted. I created 3 different projects, and so we, you know, as the information was collected in these, all the observers would submit the information so that we could see, you know, 1, that we had the observation, and 2, that the quality was there as far as, so it was a way of QCing the data for quality, to know if we needed to do some additional observations or not. We were pretty lucky really as far as when we did the observations. Again, it went from, we started September 20th and we finished up about just less than a month later. There was, during that time, and I remember during the 2000, that was in the 2006 survey, we would have some waves of fronts coming through with thunderstorms and things of that nature. For this observation, it was really a very good time. There was had some rains when we were down based out of the New Orleans area, afternoon showers, but other than that, there were no fronts and really severe weather that came through. It was really a good time for doing GPS data collection. We had all of this information. Was NGS crews, personnel who did all the data collection on this. We had 24 receivers out there running every night. We would do 18 hours as far as we had a 6-hour window to move receivers that were going to be moved, but we did two days of observations. So it was just like the 2006 and the 2010 in that respect. So it's long data sets, and we used, as far as different receivers, but we used all the same as far as the Zephyr geodetic. This was all Trimble equipment, and so we used the same antenna for all of these units. Okay, and so we actually walked across the whole entire. We just started down the southeast and then just kind of worked our way around across the lake and then kind of across the project area. We did have 3 different, as far as the Corps of Engineers repeated. They did 10 marks, 9 that were in the 2010 survey. Nichols did the 1 mark there on campus again, and then we had actually Calcasieu Parish went out and collected data for 9 marks within the additional marks to what we did there in the parish. So this is just a screenshot of showing you, as far as the Opus Projects, what it looks like as far as the program. And this is being worked up at this point to where historically the programs are still there as far as pages and adjust. Those are the programs that NGS has used as far as anything blue booking. You could use some other commercial softwares like TGO used to be. You could get the B&G files out of it, but most of it, as far as was all pages and adjust, what went into blue booking projects. NGS is trying to bring the blue booking process kind of up to date, and this Opus Projects is the means of what will be used to do that. So this project will be processed in Opus Projects. Any of you could become a what we call an Opus Projects manager. So you can go through the course, and it's a free service from the NGS website. So you go out and collect data. You can run it through, do process your information, adjust it, and it's all free. And it's not to be in competition with the commercial softwares. It's just different, and it was the tech, the programming was there, and they as far as from Opus and that and they were able to develop it, and it's just another service product offered by NGS. So in in a lot of this stuff that's being done, as far as you ask on some of the for doing elevation certificates, and the real-time network is there, and that can work for a lot of different things as far as a lot of the needs that you have as far as surveying. on, and it depends on your accuracy level. What, as far as for the survey, what you're doing. How much do I have to do for my control work? Okay, I've heard of people as far as doing using Opus RS, the rapid static, for establishing the control for their elevation certificate, and that's not something I would recommend, because you're looking at basing your professional liability on 20 minutes worth of data, and so I know there's a balance between how much time you can put in it into the control, but you have to do enough to give you confidence in that position, that height that you're gonna put on that certificate. Opus Projects could be another way of doing that, as far as, because you can do 1 point. It has to be at this point 2 hours of data, but still, it's another possibility of giving you a position that you can have confidence in. Okay, so that's something there. If you want more information about that, you can talk to me. As far as the project schedule, okay, so we did the recon of all our marks back in June. September and October, we did all our observations. We expect by June, somewhere around there, the summer of 2017, we'll be done with the processing and analysis and the adjustment of all that information, and then by the fall would have that information ready to load into the NGS integrated database, so that the data sheet, the information would be in the data sheets and available to use. So that's kind of the schedule of everything at this point. So that was just kind of a quick overview. As far as if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Okay.
You want to say anything about any new GEOID models that may come out or anything? Or?
There is, the question is, as far as new GEOID models coming out, as far as Dave's talked about, there are scientific GEOIDs. That was one thing that the director made a requirement of the people who are creating these GEOID models within NGS, is that they would do this experimental GEOID every year as we move towards the 2022 and having that geopotential surface as the the vertical datum. But the question is, as far as doing another hybrid GEOID, there's talk about doing another one, but there's nothing official at this point, and so we'll just have to see. I think it'll be soon that they'll put it out there as far as when and if they're going to actually do another hybrid GEOID model. I kind of don't see how they don't. I mean, just because it will have been a 10-year period in there, which is there's a lot of new information that actually could go into another hybrid GEOID, and really what we're trying to do, as far as I think it would be good if they did, because one, it would take us from that GEOID 12 to somewhere in between 22, and it's just going to make all of that information a little tighter, and to where, because we're seeing less and less change in as these GEOID models are developed, as the information improves. So I think we would see less shifts, and it should be closer to what we'll see in 2022. So we'll see, but I think it's likely that they will do another hybrid GEOID model. So
You want to put a plug in for your geospatial summit meeting in
Yeah.
2017?
Actually, that's a good idea as far as the as we move towards these towards the new datums in 2022. NGS is trying to do a lot of outreach as far as to all interested parties, whether it's government agencies, private sector, and so they're holding these geospatial summits. They did one in 2 years ago, so they're going to hold another one in. They did one in 2015. So they're going to do another one next spring, and anyone can attend this. It's going to be in Silver Spring, Maryland. And so it'll be a couple of days of presentations of, what's going into it and what to expect out of it all. They also, I'm sure they'll have it, where you can tune into it as a webinar. So, you don't have to go and be there to get some of the updated information. What's going on with it all, but as we move towards it, I think it's certainly a good thing to try to participate in that and try to get some of the latest information, what's coming out about how things are developing and what we're finding as we move towards it. So.